This is my review of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so in this episode, we're reintroduced to Alessi and his stand set. So early on, it starts off almost immediately where the episode left off. It just a few minutes before, but around the same time as when Mariah was fighting Joseph and Abdul. So around that time, but just a few minutes before that. After looking for them, they decide to go back to their hotel room and check things out there. After not finding a trace of them, they decide to go into town and start asking around, seeing if anybody saw them. Me unaware that they're actually being pursued by Alessi, who is established very early on in the episode to enjoy picking on children. Case in point, the first we see of him as personality-wise, a kid accidentally spills mud on him, and he takes it out on the child. So it's quickly established that he likes picking on children. But eventually Polnareff catches on that they're being pursued by someone, eventually figuring out that Alessi is following them. And while Alessi initially denies being a stand user, after Polnareff confronts him with Silver Chariot, he decides to attack him. And Polnareff is able to dodge against Set's attack and warns Jotaro about what's going on before giving chase himself. It quickly becomes apparent that something has happened to Polnareff. So as time goes on, his voice gets a little bit more high pitched. He gets a little bit shorter, and eventually he realizes that he's been reverted back to a kid, which is revealed to be Set's power. So he realizes that Set had reverted him back to a kid, and when he sees Jotaro again, he tries to get Jotaro's attention, but realizes that he can't actually remember Jotaro's name. And starts panicking, trying to get Jotaro to help him out, but realizing that Jotaro's the only one who could. But as he can't remember Jotaro's name, and he also no longer looks like himself, he's unable to convince Jotaro that he is in fact Polnareff, and Jotaro just leaves to go look for him. To look for Polnareff, even though he already found him, technically, but as a child, so Jotaro didn't actually recognize him. But in any case, when Polnareff tries to pursue Jotaro to get his attention, Alessi stops him and sequesters him in a back alley, pinning him in the alley by his suspender, by hanging him off of a protruding pipe. At which point Alessi reveals the extent of his stand's power, revealing that not only does it revert him back to a child, but it also reverts their memories back to when they were a child as well. So eventually, Polnareff will forget everything he learned as an adult, and eventually will just be a helpless kid who can't even remember what he was doing. So Polnareff attempts to fight back with Silver Chariot after Alessi pulls a gun on him, but discovers that Silver Chariot, because it's based on his mental fortitude and his experience, realizes that Silver Chariot has also reverted to a kid and is less powerful. So at which point Alessi decides to dispatch him with a stand by holding an axe, which Set is then able to copy into a shadow version of the axe and tries to cut Polnareff down and defeat him right then and there. But in the process, Polnareff actually accidentally jams one of his rapiers into Alessi's neck, and he's able to escape. At which point he runs into a young woman and realizes that Alessi won't actually pursue him if there's an adult around, and believes he's safe for the time being. And then the woman takes him back to her house and proceeds to have him cleaned, which Polnareff immediately takes advantage of, both as a kid and an adult. So he kind of flip-flops between the two, because he's reverting back to a kid, but he still has his adult needs, we'll put them. But eventually Alessi does find him and presumably reverts the girl back to a young age so she can't interfere. We never actually see what happens to her, but based on the promo for the next episode, it's presumed she's been reverted back so far that she can't actually fight back, presumably a baby or earlier. But yeah, it's revealed that she has actually been reverted back, and sure enough, Alessi attacks him and reverts him and tries to finish him off once and for all. So yeah, now Polnareff has to deal with Set and Alessi as a child, which I don't imagine is going to end very well for him, because he's a child. How is he supposed to fight back, especially with his stand all messed up because he's, again, a child and therefore smaller. But in any case, yeah, that was this episode. It establishes that Alessi likes picking on children, and sure enough, his stand reverts people back to a younger age, which he then takes advantage of because he likes picking on children, and that's what his stand does. So, yeah, it also begs the question of how is Jojo going to fight back if he doesn't even know that Polnareff got attacked. So, yeah, this episode overall just establishes that Set is a very dangerous stand, not because of its offensive capabilities, but because of its ability to revert somebody back to that of a child. So, yeah, it is a wonder as to how Alessi is going to be defeated, because if he can revert anybody who touches his stand back into a child, nobody really stands a chance of defeating him so it might be a bit of a challenge going forward, but we'll see that in the second part of it. So, if you guys have indeed enjoyed this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and my subsequent review of it, then what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that are my way of saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!